Thanks for joining our webinar. My name is Natalie from Orchid, and today Anne and Emma will present training material to get started with teamwork and extender approval workflow in Sage 300. We launched Teamwork last month, and this webinar will help you get started and be ready to demonstrate teamwork to your customers and prospects for chats and approvals in Sage 300. TeamWork is a made-for-mobile chat app for collaboration in Sage 300, developed jointly by Orchid and AutoSimpli. It is designed for front-end, such as customer service team members, delivery drivers, and back-office users, typical Sage 300 users, to chat about Sage 300 records. They can also update optional fields with the required security rights, upload documents and photos, sign records, monitor the current workflow task list, and action those workflows in Sage 300, whether you're in the office or on the road. Users just need to install from the mobile app store, Google Play, Apple Store, or Windows Store. Teamwork is developed by AutoSimpli and Orchid jointly. To clarify, you can use AC Chat by itself, where Sage 300 users and non-Sage users, also known as back-office and front-end users, can chat about Sage 300 records and update optional fields. AC Chat also includes one-level approval on transactions that can be started in the app, such as purchase requests and internal usage. You can track leave requests, timesheet, and expense claims. We will not cover all this in today's presentation, but you can refer to the AutoSimpli website for details. Teamwork by AutoSimpli and Orchid includes AC Chat, Extender Runtime, and the Teamwork app, as well as Orchid Notes. It allows for multi-level approvals, up to 5 sequential approvers, notifications of Sage 300 records in the mobile app. The rules are easily configurable to meet your business requirements, and this is the focus of today's presentations. For more advanced requirements, you can also use Extender Developer and Document Management link with the Teamwork app. We will not include this today. As I mentioned, AC Chat lets users chat about Sage 300 records in a mobile app, like WhatsApp or Teams, Messenger, Viber, all this integrated within Sage 300. AC Chat also includes transactions such as leave, application, expense, and time entries. Today, we focus on the chat components that are required to discuss and approve Sage 300 records. So in this presentation, we will use AC Chat as installed with the default configuration for a demo machine. So we will show you how to configure AC Chat for use in Teamwork, but we do not cover AC Chat specific technical details on the web service configuration that is relevant for live environments, and this is all available through AutoSimpli. First, a reminder of how Teamwork works for approvals. Number 1, you consider your business needs. Number 2, generally based on a flowchart, you can set up the workflow rules, which means you define the what records are going to be approved, how you define the records that need to be approved. It can be based on the amount, on the status, on the country that the order is going to, and then who are the approvers. Up to 5 sequential approvers that can be individual users or groups of users. 4 to 8 describes how it works from a user entering a transaction. So you input the transaction, for example, a PO over $10,000. The approvers and other relevant users get notified in the app, and then they can chat and ask questions about the request. Eventually, they can then make a decision, reject or approve. Once all the approvers have approved, the final status is updated, so the order is released, the batch is posted, all in Sage 300. Allness includes extensive audit trails, so both the steps for approvals and the chat messages available in the Sage 300 database, and through TeamWork you can make Allness displayed in the relevant Sage 300 screens. How to get started with TeamWork? The main thing is to identify the key processes you want to approve. TeamWork includes more than 20 standard workflow templates for many Sage 300 transactions, and we add new ones based on demand. For general demonstration, we find that GL batches and OE sales orders, as well as purchase orders, provide a great opportunity to present most features of TeamWork. So today we will use GL batches and OE sales orders for the training. The main steps to get started involve installing and activating Sage 300 modules. So in this presentation, Anne will show you how to install, discuss the components that get enabled on activation, and how to configure those components to start approving records. We have workflow modules for accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger, inventory, order entry, purchase order, manufacturing, RMA, and we develop new ones, and this is all described in the help. Then in the second part of the presentation, Emma will then explain in details how to set up workflow rules for GL batch approval and OE orders. Over to you, Anne, to show us how to install and set up TeamWork.
Thanks, Natalie. In this TeamWork training video, I'm going to run through the installation of the required modules, how to activate the modules, the fact you need to restart the Sage desktop, and then we'll go on to configuring Extender and AC Chat. And after configuring the base modules, I will show you how to import the TeamWork workflows, how to enable them, and how to configure new rules. This is all at a high level, and in the later part of this training video, we will go through enabling and configuring two specific workflows in more detail. So you go to the Orchid Systems Product Downloads area and download Extender and Information Manager for the required version, 25, 24, or 23 at this stage. And you'd also go to Auto Simply Product Downloads and download the AC Chat app from there. And then follow the instructions on installing these modules, and for Auto Simply AC Chat, how to configure IIS and to install the AC Chat app on your mobile devices and the Windows AC Chat app. After installing, you would go to the required company and activate the modules. So in Admin Services Data Activation, you would activate AC Chat and Information Manager. These two must be done before Extender to ensure that all the tables required are available by the time Extender is activated. And then the Extender activation can populate the TeamWork tables appropriately. So after activating AC Chat and Information Manager, you would activate Extender. And when you activate Extender, it automatically imports the workflow module and the TeamWork module. So it uploads all the workflow actions and creates the TeamWork specific configuration tables. And then you would restart the Sage desktop, just as you would when you activate any module. And when you restart the Sage desktop the first time after activating these modules, all the default record values will be inserted in the workflow view defaults, the workflow colors, and the TeamWork default values for the chat color and font sizes for notes, and the AC Chat link types and labels. So having a little look at this is SAM Ltd, where I have activated AC Chat, Information Manager, and Extender. And after restarting the desktop, I see in the modules that we have TeamWork has been automatically imported, and the Orchid Systems Workflow module has been automatically imported. And for TeamWork, the configuration tables have been created and populated. So if we look at the link types, we see all the link types linking the sales order shipment to the AC Chat link type 2, invoices to 3, etc. The font sizes. So these are configurable, but these are the default font sizes that we're using in the Notes panel for the AC Chat messages. There's a reverse link type to label index that we need to keep. So the link types for AC leave, AC time, AP invoice batches, etc. And I'll get back to this AC Chat user login setup shortly. And the activation script that was run after the desktop was restarted was to import the workflow defaults. So for each of the views that we currently have workflows defined, let's look at the General Ledger Batch 1. The view defaults allows us to define predefined fields that can be used in the workflow rules. And you are able to add your own fields here too. And the default workflow colors are imported. At this stage, we only have one for the workflow error. Now let's look at configuring Extender and AC Chat. For Extender, you need to configure your email options. You need to define which of your Sage 300 users are workflow users. You need to set up any user groups for workflow if you need them. And you need to define additional colors if you want to have your workflow instances shown in color on the workflow console. So having a quick look at that, in Extender Setup Options, on the Email tab, you need to select whether you're sending emails from your workflow via Microsoft Graph or SMTP, and then fill in the details accordingly. In the license screen, and you need to be logged in as administrator to be able to do this, you would select which of your Sage 300 users that are workflow users. So these are users who can approve or reject workflow instances, and it is limited by your license. You can create workflow user groups. For example, I have the finance group, which consists of these 4 users, so then I could assign my workflow to the finance group if I want any one of those 4 to approve or reject a workflow instance. And if you do want to use workflow colors on your workflow console, you could go ahead and create your colors as required. So for example, if we wanted our general ledger workflow instances to be a light lilac, we could do that, and AP could be green. And for AC Chat, you need to create your AC Chat users and link those AC Chat users to Sage users if they are going to be workflow approvers. And in AC Templates, you need to have a chat template to link the workflow to the workflow template and rule. And while we're creating AC Chat users, we will also create one for TeamWork. So this is the user that will be used to create the chat messages from the workflow. And after creating the AC Chat TeamWork user, you must go to the custom table editor and configure that TeamWork user so that the workflow templates know which user to use when creating AC Chat messages. And when you first create this user, an AC Chat token will be given to you, and this gets refreshed every couple of months automatically. Having a little look at this, in AC User Users, you would create all the users that you need as AC Chat users. And for those chat users who are going to be workflow approvers, you would link them to the Sage user. And we also need one for TeamWork. In our case, we've called it TeamWork. And then the final piece of configuration is back in Extender. In the TeamWork module, you need to configure that AC Chat user. And when you save the record, an AC Chat token will be assigned to this user. This needs refreshing every couple of months, and it will happen automatically when needed. And we are now ready to import the workflows for a particular module. So I'm going to use the General Ledger workflow module as an example. And you would go to the module screen, and on the Available Modules tab, you will get all the modules that have been released as part of the Extender release. So all the .vi files that you find in the Extender programs directory that have not yet been imported, they will be available to be imported. So you can just click Import for those ones that you want to have active in this company. So we're going to import the General Ledger Workflow module, and importing a workflow module creates the workflow templates for GL, that's GL accounts and GL batches. It creates one default rule that admin approves all the records, but you can then go and change that for the appropriate business rules for that company. It creates all the necessary message templates for AC chat and for sending emails, and it creates all the configuration rows for the information manager notes to display the AC chat alongside the, in our case, GL accounts or GL batches. And after importing your module workflow, then you would need to enable the workflow scripts. So you might choose to enable all of them by selecting the Enable button, or you may choose to enable them one at a time by clicking on the active switch on the Workflow Views tab. So having a little look at this in Extender modules, we're going to go ahead and import the GL Workflow module. And here we see the module consists of an activation script, which creates the necessary records that we need. It has two workflows, both of which are inactive, the GL account approval and the GL batch approval. And once we restart our desktop, we can see the GL workflow templates that were imported for the GL journal batch and for the new GL account. The GL journal batch approval, which says all GL batches need to be approved by admin, and their GL account approval, which says all GL accounts need to be approved by admin. And this is what you would then come and configure for your own business needs. And it would import the relevant message templates. These message templates are used for AC chat messages and for email messages. And the TeamWork notes configuration rows to display the AC chat messages around the associated GL batches. And then after importing, you would enable the workflows if you want to enable both, or if you only want to enable one or two, one of them you would go ahead and just enable them individually. And now you're ready to configure the workflow rules for the particular company that you've activated the workflow module in. So in the rules configuration, you set up what records need approval, how do you determine these records, and who approves. And on the Options tab, you configure whether or not you want AC chat integration, email notifications, and whether or not you want to auto-post the records. For your conditions, you may need to configure new default view fields if the default view fields that were created during the activation do not cover the ones you want to use. And if you did not create the AC chat template earlier, you may need to go and create an AC chat template.
Thanks, Anne, for your presentation. Next, Emma will now show us how to enable workflow for GL batch approvals and sales orders using the workflow rules, a new feature in Extender released in conjunction with TeamWork. How do workflow rules work? You define what you need to approve, all GL batches or certain OE shipments, certain purchase orders, certain OE orders. Then you configure how you determine if approval is required, based on the amount, the vendor group, the customer group, optional fields, the first entry or the first line in a batch or on an order. There are a lot of fields that are available that you can use to configure the rules, and this is what we're going to show you now. Then you also need to configure who is going to approve, and that is up to 5 approvers. You can use groups for parallel approvals, and we also support separation of duty. For example, I can approve a PO that was entered by another user, but I can't approve my own. All approval details are logged. So that's the name of the approvers, the comments, and all the chats that take place in TeamWork app. Over to you, Emma.
Today we will be configuring the general ledger batch approvals for TeamWork. The steps we'll go through: after importing the GL workflow module, we will be activating the GL journal batch approval workflow. Then we will create the AC template link for GL journal batch approvals. We will then configure the GL journal batch approval rules. We will be configuring the what, how, and who, workflow colors, enabling HG chat messages, and enabling email messages, and finally enabling posting. We will then test our workflow rule and ensure it is working as expected. Our scenario is that the sample company wants to approve batches before they are posted. Anne and Steve work collaboratively in order to manage their business's finance. Let's see how TeamWork helps them to work together. Anne is a finance team member in charge of GL. Steve is the financial controller and will be approving from his mobile. Steve and Anne's business needs to provision for doubtful debt. As per the previous video, the workflow templates have already been imported but not configured. Here we go to Extender Setup, then tick on the Modules tab, and here we highlight the GL workflows, and amongst these tabs we can go to View Workflows, General Ledger Workflow Template, then we go to View Workflows. Here they are preset as inactive. Here we will activate the GL journal batch approval by double-clicking again to change it to yes, activated. So here I've activated the new GL account and also the GL journal batch approval. We will now look at the workflow rules page. We will be configuring 3 sections on the page today. We will be concentrating on the what and the who, as well as the options tab. This section, once searching for your intended workflow rule, this section allows you to define what records require approval, the what section. It is also the rules for a specific group of approval users. You can define as many rules as you need. For instance, you can have many types of records that require approval by a specific group of approvers. For example, batches entered in GL need to be approved by Anne and Steve, whereas batches entered in AP need to be approved by Natalie. Batches entered in AR, OE, PO, or IC do not need approval. If a record doesn't meet any rule, the workflow is auto-completed and posted. Each what here is a separate rule, which are being evaluated in numbered order, and you can have an unlimited number of rules. Now time to set up the workflow colors. So here we go to Extender, Setup, Workflow Colors, and here I can select a color for GL. I will be selecting a pale purple today. And I recommend using a lighter shade of a color. So here we can see when GL isn't selected that it is this pale color, pale purple. You may want to do all the GL ones various greens, or you could do a red, orange, and green setup for urgency. You can color code by module or by urgency or importance. Moving on to the how section, per rule, you define how the records are to be selected for this specific group of approvers. For example, the conditions for selecting a record. You can define as many conditions as you need. You can have an unlimited number of hows. For example, here, the GL batches where the source ledger is GL, and the other what that we're looking at today is if the batches are from AP. You can use default fields from the GL batch view. When referring to journal headers or journal details, it is based on the first entry in the batch only. Otherwise, you can also use GL journal headers or GL journal details or all views records in your rules. You can add any field from the views you select. If any one of the conditions you define are not met, the workflow engine will move on to the next rule in the what section, like this. And it will check the fields defined in the how section, such as source ledger equal to AP. In the how, we have the different compare operation column. Here we've chosen equal because we want for our source ledger to equal GL. If we double click on the operation, we can see the different operators, equal, not equal, in, not in. We have greater than and lesser than values as well, and some values based on optional tables. Moving on to the who section. So per group of records, you can have up to 5 levels of approvers. Each level can be an individual approver or a group of approvers. For a group of approvers, you can exclude the record for the entered by user by selecting the X in the Who tab, as seen here. You can also add a group of users, such as a finance group. For adding another user, you can insert a new line and add another approver. We will now go to the Options tab and set up in order to present our specific scenario. So these options can be different for each workflow template. For now, we have the GL Journal Batch Approval workflow template selected. So we can here send chats in order to talk to people on mobile in AC Chat and to approve in the chat app with approval reflected in Sage 300 immediately. This could be for people away from their computers, non-Sage users who are on mobile with external apps. With notifying users of changes in Sage, like a payment batch, you can send emails as notifications for Sage and non-Sage users alike. Today, we won't be sending any emails with the GL Journal Batch Approval workflow. So the options to switch on and off the auto post for separation of duties, if you don't want to use auto post in case of needing to have a different person to approve and the original poster to post. This is possible, as the workflow can set to ready to post without doing the actual posting. With the posting of the GL batches, you can see it in the Inquiries tab, which we will look at later. So today we will set to auto post for our scenario. We can configure and set up the messages that come through during the TeamWork process as per our own business needs. The AC AutoSimply Chat AC templates, GL approval is where we can enable workflow links through to AC Chat. So here we'll select GL batch approval. Here we enable as part of the Workflow Links tab, the GL batch. Along the top here, there are configurable fields. Here I've set up for a signature to be part of the GL batch approval template. So we need to add the appropriate GL batch workflow link to the AC chat message, a part of the AC chat template box, which we've done here. The preset users will automatically add users to go into the chat. These aren't necessarily approvers, but they can view the chat and have to be AC chat users. In this page, you can choose whether the user is an admin user. Admin means the chat user can add or remove members in the chat. Edit means the chat user can update the optional fields configured on the chat template, including the signature. In the last tab, you can set up custom inquiries, which we won't be covering in this video. Next, we'll be moving on to the messages from TeamWork, which show up in the Notes panel in the Sage screens. To get there, we will go to Extender, Set up Message Templates, and here we will search for the GL message template. So we will search. So here are from this one until this one. These are the different customizable and configurable messages that come up in the chat and come from this message template segment. Some of the templates for chat and some are for emails. We can use variables from the workflow that are in the curly brackets, which we'll see here. Here is the message that TeamWork inputs at this point in the workflow. More details on the variables are in the documentation. More information as well is in the workflow message ID. If you click on FN and F1 at the same time, you can open the help directly from this page. Here is the help on the message templates as well as information on the variables. So all of the message templates are configurable based on your business needs. So now looking at Extender, Setup, and then the Workflow Templates section. Here we'll search for the GL Journal Batch Approval Workflow Template. And here is the page where you can configure further. These messages can be amended to suit your business requirements. Please check the online help or contact your business partner for additional support on creating custom workflows. A reminder of our rules. So now we've set up our 2 rules that batches from GL need approval and that if the batches are AP, they also need approval by a different user. So today we will be testing all GL batches needing to be approved by Anne and Steve. Now we have created a new batch which meets the rules. In this case, it is a GL batch with the source ledger being GL. Natalie wants to submit the batch for approval using the account Doubtful Debt. She makes the batch and wants to make it ready to post. Double-click in the Ready to Post column to change the Ready to Post section to Yes. Natalie has triggered the workflow using the batch. Natalie gets this message. Batches from GL need approval. Batch status open until approved. She can close the window and she sees this hasn't changed. Maybe she clicks again, trying to repost the batch. And she gets another message, workflow in progress, status not updated. So there's already the existing workflow in place. TeamWork stops the batch from being posted outside of the workflow. See the message in AC chat. Here is the message that Anne and Steve will receive in the chat. We can see that Anne can approve directly in the chat. Now Anne, Steve, and Natalie can chat back and forth directly from mobile. Anne says in the chat for Steve, auditors are coming next week. Salesperson has told us they are late on their payments, so we won't have it by the time the auditors come. Anne sends the message and approves. Here's the message showing that the workflow has now been assigned to Steve. Now, logged in as Steve, we can go, Steve goes to the message option. He can see that he can approve. Steve says, okay, I understand the reason. I'll approve. He approves. And now we can see the various points at which the payment has gone through approval, as well as seeing the final comments for approval. Now back to Sage 300. Sage users can see the whole story on the notes panel associated with the appropriate batch we are working on. So here on the right-hand side, if you go back to your GL batch, you can see the notes tray has picked up all of Anne's messages. So as a Sage user, Anne can see that the GL batch is ready to post and has been auto-posted. If it hasn't changed yet, you may need to click the refresh button. In this case, auto-post is set to yes, so the batch has been set to ready to post and has been posted by the workflow. Entered, posted. And here on the right, we can see all of the messages from TeamWork, and we can see the messages from Anne and from Steve. So go back to verify our workflow rule. So this is what we've done and proof that the rule that we set up works as expected. So this was our configuration, but you could have different options. For example, use a group of approvers and not to auto post. You can have a group here for who, and here you can have auto post set to no. The great thing about Extender and TeamWork is that it comes with good logging features. So if we go to Extender, inquiries, in the workflow summary log, and we double click on our detail log for our intended GL batch, it will show 3 steps. Natalie as admin starting and approving, and then Steve approving, then posting the batch. The values are being set based on the rules and the approval journey that we've gone through. For example, the start values don't have any approvers having approved yet. It does have to send the AC chat and no email, just like in the options we set up. And it has examples of the messages being sent in the chat. In the final step, if we look at the values, it shows the approval levels that have been completed, as well as the approval comments. Looking at the values, we can see the approvers and their comments, which highlights how the values have changed from the initial request to the final approval. So far, we have based our workflow rules on the source ledger being GL, but what if you wanted to use different variables for your workflow rules? What if you wanted to use batch type? Or what if you wanted to add another variable to base the workflow off? You would do it on this page, Extender, Setup, Workflow View Defaults. And we'll go into more detail. By searching on the Finder, we can select GL batches, the view we are looking to work off. And here in the default condition fields, here are the default fields which we can base our workflow off. So you can select different ones or add new ones by inserting as you need. So with inserting a new default condition field, you can select from the various views, batch, header entry, first detail, or header entry optional field. I'm going to select batch, and here in the field section, you can either select F5 to search the suggested field. So here I'm going to just click on the search and select based on batch status and save to confirm your default condition fields. To show you how the workflow view defaults function in action, here is a default field that comes up. So once I've inputted it into the workflow view defaults section, I'll then see it pop up here in workflow fields. The view defaults are created when activating Extender and the workflow module. Now we will look at a scenario for the sales order workflow template. In this demonstration, we will focus more on the How section of the workflow rules page. So after importing the OE sales order workflow module, we will activate OE sales order approval workflow, create the AC template link for OE sales order approvals, then configure the OE sales order approval rules, configuring the what, how in particular, and who, and then we will test using the OE sales order workflow. We will look at the fields used to determine the rules, header fields, optional fields, elements from the line, then the rest is simple. We'll create a scenario, then in TeamWork chat, the users will need to speak to each other, the warehouse manager, if there's new stock to find out, or if someone can make manufacturing be ready on time. Anne and Terence are the controllers for the orders over $10,000. And it's Terence who's the approver for international orders, those outside of Canada. All other orders go through automatically. An order comes in with a value of 10,000 or over. The workflow rule we will be setting up will cover the order value, the country the items are going to. We will look primarily at the workflow conditions, or rather the how we are setting up the conditions. This section will be on configuring the necessary variables in order for the workflow to function. For enabling the module, we go to Extender, Setup, double-click on Modules, and then we look for our intended module, the OE Sales Order Workflow. Once selected OE Sales Order Workflow, we can go down to Enable, click Enable, and we can see the two workflows are enabled. To have a look at these workflows, we can go over to View Workflows, and we can see that the sales order approval and the new shipment notification workflows have been activated. Now we'll be looking at the workflow rules page. We start by selecting workflow rules, and then we'll search for our workflow template. Today we'll be using the sales order approval template with the view name OEORDH. Concentrating on the what first, this section allows you to define what records require approval, i.e. the rules for a specific group of notification users. You can define as many rules as you need. Today we have 2 rules so far. And you can have as many types of records that require approval by a specific group of approvers. For example, orders over $10,000 needs Anne and Terence to approve. And billing to countries outside of Canada will be Terence. If no rules apply, the order is under $10,000 and the bill to country is Canada, then the workflow is auto approved and this is logged in the Extender Inquiries page. If a record doesn't meet any rule, then the autocomplete makes the order taken off hold. In this segment, we will look at the How section of the Workflow Rules page. The How section is where you can select from various Sage views: orders, order details, order optional fields, or all, which you can use for all other options. Per rule, you define how the records are to be selected for this specific group of approvers, so the conditions for selecting a record. You can define as many conditions as you need. If any one of the conditions you define are not met, the workflow engine will move on to the next rule in the What section. Set up for the workflow rules, we can select a variable such as the order total field. We can search for various fields by clicking on the Finder here, which has a friendly name next to it to give you a bit more information. And in the next column is the compare operation. The compare operation is configurable and can allow for the following options: equal, not equal, in, not in, between, greater than, less than, in optional table, not in optional table, in AC security group, not in AC security group. Please refer to the documentation for further training on the compare operations. For this example, we are choosing greater than. Then in the column next to it, depending on the operation you have selected, either put in one value, value 1, or two values if you are looking to work with a range for this workflow rule. The workflow conditions, or the How section of the workflow rules screen, is the main place you'll be making changes to see the workflow in action in Sage 300. We'll now be looking at the Who section of the Workflow Rules page. Per group of records, you can have up to 5 levels of approvers. Each level can be an individual approver or a group of approvers. Now we'd like to add in an optional field. So we'd like to add in UPS zone as a third rule. We want to add in UPS zone as a view default for the sales order view. So to add the UPS zone as an optional field, we go to Workflow View Defaults, search through the workflow views. We will select OEO RDH. Once selected, we go to the Default Condition Fields tab, and we will insert a new row. After inserting the new row, I'm going to select I search through the optional fields and select UPS zone. Now we will be able to select this field as part of setting up our workflow rules and make workflows based on the UPS zone field as part of the workflow. To see additional values for the optional fields, we can go to Common Services, Optional Fields, and search up the UPS zone field, optional field, and the value input must be one of these values here in order for the workflow to trigger. Now let's see that optional field in the How section of the workflow rules. Here I would like to add a new rule. Using the insert key, I've added a new rule, and what we'd like to add in is to have, if the UPS zone is blue, parents only approves. So here we'll go to the How section, and we'll click on order optional fields, because this is where we've added in our new view default, and we can see here the UPS zone comes up. So if the UPS zone equals blue, then Terence needs to approve. So now if the order is under $10,000, is domestic, and the UPS zone is blue, then Terence approves. Now we can save the work we've done on this page, and we can go up to the Options tab just to have a look. So here we have chosen to enable AC chat messages, and we have selected an AC chat template, which is linked up to our workflow. Now if I go to Auto Simply Chat, AC templates, and then templates, here I will search up my template ID. Once that's loaded, I make sure that this box is ticked, OE order, to ensure that my workflow link is active. If I want to add different fields, I can go to Workflow Fields and here ensure that signature is enabled, and this will allow the user of AC Chat to get a signature as part of the approval process. All of these are optional fields, and a user with edit rights will be able to update these fields directly from the AC Chat app. Now I'll be entering an order in order to trigger the workflow. Here we can see the user of Sage 300 putting in an order with the total value being over $10,000. So let's try and post this. Once we click post, this message pops up saying, waiting for Anne to approve, sales order, order is on hold. And here we can see a message from TeamWork come up as well, depicting the current state of the AC chat and the workflow. Now moving to AC chat, we are logged in as Anne, and here we can see the message workflow that has just started. So Anne from the desktop mobile app can have a look at the messages in AC Chat, where Terence and Anne will be talking about the sales order. When in AC Chat, Anne can click on the question mark in order to see information from the Sage 300 database within AC Chat by clicking on the hamburger menu, and then on this question mark in order to look at details from Sage 300. Anne asks, this is a big order. Why should I approve? Now logged in as Terence, we can reply. Terence replies, I can fit it in today if it is urgent. Now logged in as Natalie, who started the workflow, who does not have approval rights but is able to chat and give additional information. Natalie says, it is urgent. They have always paid on time. I have spoken to a salesperson. Please approve so that we can continue the sale. Now back to Sage 300, logged in as Anne. Anne can go to Extender Workflow and Workflow Console in order to see the current state of the workflow. She can also approve or reject from this page, as well as the AC Chat app. Looking at the values, we can see that the approvers that are required are Anne and Terence, and the reason for the workflow is that the order value is over 10,000. It also has other important fields such as sending AC Chat and sending an email, which is set as no. And it says at what level the workflow is currently at, which is level 1. And here we can see our optional field, UPS zone, which is red, so it won't be triggering that final workflow, primarily because the order value is over 10,000, and that is the first evaluation point. If we'd like, we can drill down to see details in the OE screen. Once we've clicked on drill down, it'll open up the order entry screen. And on the right-hand side, with the tray, it will actually show the messages from TeamWork. So here we have messages from Anne, Terence, and Natalie with their chat back and forth. Anne can see the replies from Terence and Natalie directly in Sage 300 screens. She can close this screen. She's satisfied with Natalie and Terence's response and can approve on the workflow console. By clicking approve, she can put a comment and approves. And now the name has changed, assigned to Terence. Now we can go back to AC Chat, logged in as Terence. Terence can go into this page. He can see that Anne has approved, and now the approval is on to level 2. Terence wants to double check some information, so he clicks on the hamburger menu and then on the question mark, reads through the information, sees that the items are the desk lamps. He can verify the number of desk lamps as well. And here Terence can now sign and confirm the approval. And most importantly, Terence can either approve or reject directly in the mobile app. Terence approves after reading through the messages. Now the workflow is completed. We can see that pop up here in AC Chat, and each step of the way has been tracked by TeamWork. What Anne can also do after approval is actually add in the invoice, attach it to this order in order to give additional information for the future audits. So in order to upload an image on AC Chat, she can take a photo straight away. We can then see the invoice in AC Chat, and we will soon see this in Sage 300 as well. So back to the order entry screen. We can double click on the order entry. And looking back at order 74, we can actually see the OE order is no longer on hold. The upload of the invoice, and we can see the invoice directly here or the hyperlink to the invoice here. So you can upload all kinds of images, signatures, and invoices and see them directly within Sage 300. Next, we can look at the Extender Inquiries section to check the entire summary log. So we double click here on Workflow Summary Log. And the logging keeps track of all the changes in the status of the workflows, which we can see here in the Inquiries page. And if we need, we can go to the Detailed Log section and see further information regarding each step of the approval process.
Thanks, Emma. Hopefully, you now see how to set up TeamWork and enjoy the benefits of TeamWork to enhance collaboration and avoid email, WhatsApp, phone call overload. Increase accessibility, where you can chat, inform, and discuss with team members anywhere in a secure manner. Accelerate communication. Everything that happens in TeamWork is in real time, no delay. Improve the tracking, where the conversation and audit trail for every Sage 300 decision are logged in Sage 300. TeamWork modules and pricing are available through your usual contact. You can use AC Chat by itself, To use TeamWork, you need AC Chat, Extended Runtime, including the TeamWork app, and ORCID notes. And then you need chat users for all the users involved in the chat, as well as special TeamWork approvers, which can both chat and be a workflow user to approve records in Sage 300 and in the app. If you already have Extended Developer, then you can use the TeamWork app without the extra runtime. And you can also use Document Management Link for full document management features. Thank you for your time, and we are ready for questions.